All right. I got to tell you, man, when I heard Kenny Flickett today.
Oh, God.
Kenny Flickett. Holy cow, man. Kenny Flickett is outperforming Jalen Hurts right now at the OTA. Kenny Flickett. Can you hear it? Say it with me. Kenny Flickett. There he is right there, man. Holy cow.
Flickett for another Pickett, right? How many interceptions that guy got? You don't see what's happening here, Sills.
Help me out here, Philly.500.
You don't see the genius in Howie Roseman. This is all propaganda orchestrated by the most genius GM in the National Football League. That's right. This is a plan to build up the stock of one Kenny Pickett because he flicked it and get him for a nice second-round pick later on in the year. How about that? How about that?
So you're saying,
yeah,
you're saying the propaganda machine is in full force now.
That's right.
And that they're going, oh my God, look how great. Actually, I actually like it. Okay, so they're building this kid up. Hurts is gonna, oh my God, this guy's great. And so when the trading deadline comes,
right,
and a team needs a quarterback because there's an emergency issue, you're saying your boy Roseman and Associates go out and they put this guy out there
in the National Football League. Yes. Let me tell you, man, this guy is so smart. He's got rallies in Dallas, Texas tonight. 25,000 people come out to see Howie Roseman in Dallas with his geniusness. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, so Flickett's
listen,
Hurts, though.
No, listen, I think it's ridiculous to talk about Kenny Pickett outperforming him in OTAs on one day where they have the media there. He made a couple throws that people liked. I think it's ridiculous to say he's outperforming him in that situation. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous to saying that how he's orchestrating the whole thing. I don't put much stock into either of it. All
right. Let's move on from Kenny Flickett.
Hey, Flexen, shut up.
Hey, 500, how about this one? What did you make of the Miami players crying about Vic Fangio this week and saying he's a horrible guy?
Yeah, you know, I'll be honest. That concerns me a little bit more than the whole Kenny Pickett thing. I'm not saying that I think it's bringing itself to Philly or the players in Philly have that, have a problem with him. But, when you do hear players had a problem with a guy, you do wonder why. You don't want to see that happen here. But then I think about Miami. I think, there might be a reason why they couldn't beat a team with a winning record. So I don't know. I mean, but it does make me raise my eyes a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Kenny Foles Pickett. Can you see it? Kenny Foles Pickett. Holy cow. Flicking it in the postseason.
Flick it for another pick
this year.
Listen,
wow.
Listen. I can close my eyes and I can see a lot of different things happening. The one thing I can't see is Hurts getting benched for Kenny Pickett. I just can't see that.
All right. How about this?
You don't even believe that.
I don't.
You don't even believe it.
I can't lie to you, man.
Doesn't that guy have tiny hands or something?
Yeah,
like real small hands?
Yeah, small hands Pickett. All cigars look big in his hands. Hey, so what about your boy A.J. Owens showing up at a Harley at a bike charity event?
Beautiful.
For autism. Genius. I mean, this guy's got a motorized scooter.
Genius. I would have done the same thing.
Man.
Listen, I would have done the same thing. My day off, why am I going to be pedaling? I'm going to be on that motorized scooter. They didn't have those things when I was growing up. You had a pedal. You were lucky to get a 10-speed that could change it on a slope so it was easier to pedal.
You show up to a charity bike event
I have no problem
on a Harley. I mean,
I have
come
no. Hey,
on,
listen.
man.
Hey, listen. I show up to one of those electric vehicle gatherings in a big Escalade, guzzling gas. You know what I mean? I have no problem with it at all. What's the difference? Who cares if he's pedaling or not?
That guy's such a showman. I mean, he's
I
such a
think
showman.
I said, what a genius. I would have done the same thing.
All right, here. I wrote, okay, I'm going to concede to you, Philly, 10 things, and I just went over this with everyone, and I wanted to go, oh, by the way, before I do that, so here, let me throw this number at you. And look, nothing with Cap, nothing with anything. Hurts 50, running back 10, wide receiver 32, wide receiver 18, left guard 20, right tackle 15, left tackle 15, tight end 15, the right guard 3, the wide receiver 3. You got $180 million on one side of the ball. I mean, dude, you got the most expensive offense in NFL history.
Yeah. What's the problem with that?
I mean, shit, dude. I mean, it's Super Bowl or bust when you're spending all your cap money.
Well,
it's not cap money.
Yeah.
It's not cap money.
Yeah.
It's just a paycheck.
Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation when you're talking cap. $175 million in 11 players?
Yeah. I mean, it's the way it works out. I mean, would you rather them be the Dallas Cowboys and have no players, but your quarterback's got all that money? I don't know. I mean, they got to sign. You got to sign who you're going to sign, and you got to have who you're going to have. I mean, I don't see a problem with it. What I think is that if you don't take advantage of it and use it to rebuild your defense and allow these young guys to play, like if you have Mitchell sitting there not playing and DeJean not playing, and these guys go through a whole year not playing, then I think it's a waste. Take advantage of it. I mean, look at Kansas City a few years ago, how they rebuilt their defense. They let those young guys play, and then in their second year, they started really playing well. To me, that's the reason why you have the offense that you have. So take advantage of it. If they don't take advantage of it, then it is a waste. But to me, it's all how they use it to build their team going forward.
I got 10 things here, and I'll concede to you. You get to the Super Bowl, here's the 10 things that I want to see. And maybe if you want to add one that you'd like to see. Of course, Hurts has to play like he did in 22. And you know what that means to me too? Philly, I don't know about you. I don't really think it's about volume of numbers. I think it's about taking away the turnovers. And what I mean by that is, hey, look, if he had 25 touchdowns, throwing the ball in 7 picks and another 10 rushing, that puts him back in the 22 room again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it probably does. Yeah.
So obviously he's a no-brainer. How about this one? The coordinators have to have an impact this year. I mean, they have to be big, right? I mean, you have to notice these, and I dare say it, they have to have the impact of what Gannon and Steichen did if they're going to get to the Super Bowl. Do you agree?
I agree. I think that's the key thing. I mean, I think definitely, especially when you look at what happened last year, I think the coaches could not stop the bleeding with this team. And I really think they were a big part of why we collapsed. So, yeah, they've got to be a huge part of it. I totally agree.
Do you like, let me throw this at you here. I threw this when it came to my Big Sills 22 for the Eagles. I threw this out there. How about this secondary? Gardner Johnson, DeJean at safety, Isaiah Rodgers in the slot, corners Mitchell and Slay.
Exactly how I would. That's exactly how I wanted to play out. That's exactly how I wanted to play out, because then you got Mitchell and you got DeJean on the field. Now I would let DeJean learn, play safety, get used to it. And then I'm going to play him inside the slot at times too. And eventually I'm going to have DeJean to the point where he can play anywhere on the secondary. So 1 week I need him to match up somebody on the outside, he's going to be able to do it. 1 week I need him to play the tight end, he can do it. Like, I want him to be like a Swiss Army knife down the road. But I think the quickest way to get him on the field is to let him play at safety for his rookie year. I agree.
How about this one, like JM just said? Then you have Sidney Brown and Ringo when they get with the depth that you have, and you have Reed Blankenship. See, to me, you know you're going to have a good safety, and I agree with you. You know you're going to have a good back end if Reed Blankenship is your third safety.
Right.
He can't be a starter, right? I mean, I can't. Yeah, there's days I like him. There's days I don't.
I take a lot of heat for this because I don't look at him as an impact safety. I think he's a good depth piece. I think he could start if you need him to start some games. But to me, he doesn't change anything. Not to the level like what I think DeJean could do. So I agree with you. I do. I don't dislike him. I just don't look at him as like in 4 or 5 years, I don't think he's starting on your team as a safety. You know what I mean?
Do you think they're waiting until next week to cut Bradbury?
I go back and forth on this. I don't know, because part of me feels like you kind of got to, right? Because it just looks like they got too many defensive backs. And here's the other thing I'll say. I think a lot of it depends on where you play Isaiah Rodgers. If you're sticking Isaiah Rodgers on the outside, then Bradbury's probably gone. But if he's on the outside, then you're essentially sitting Mitchell, because I think Rodgers is a solid cornerback in this league. I think the key to the whole thing is got to slide Rodgers inside, and then you cut Bradbury. But I go back and forth. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I really don't. I would cut him. I would cut him.
It's
I would get rid of him.
It's 4.3 of a hit on the cap after June 1.
I would try to trade him. I'd say, listen, give me a 2042 7th round pick in 2050. I don't care. Just get rid of him. That's what I would
with a 6th or 7th round pick. You get enough of those picks. You parlay them up like how we did this last year for a 4th rounder.
Right.
And you move into that 4th round. If you like, then they have like multiple 5th round picks that he traded away so that he could get better picks the following season. That's how you do that. You know what? I thought some of the best things that he did, Howie, was the way that he used those 5th round picks, trading them up for the following year to get higher volume picks, like in the 3rd round or in the 4th round. Right. I thought that was really good stuff in what he did.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree with you.
Number 4, Goddard has to have a huge year, dude. He's got to. I mean, of all the time, he's no Zach Ertz. I mean,
right.
And get this, I think he has the potential to be better, but I just haven't seen it.
He's got to stay healthy. I mean, that's to me first and foremost. He's got to be able to stay on the field. He always misses significant time, and it always seems like it derails whatever season he's got going. So, if he could stay healthy, maybe he could play. But I think you're right. I think he needs to be on the field.
Now, what's your expectations of Bryce Huff this year?
Giant, I don't know. It's a giant, I don't know. My biggest question mark on this defense is the edge rushers and those guys, because he had one good year where he had 10+ sacks. He's either a guy who is just breaking out and going to give you that, or he's a one-year wonder, and we don't really know. So I have a giant question mark about him. I have a giant question mark about Nolan Smith, and we don't know what we got in those guys. And it's a question mark. That's why I would never have traded Hassan Reddick. I would have gotten rid of him. Because
here's the thing too, Philly, say he equals Reddick at 11. Let's just say, in which he's never have. And he had a 10-sack year last year. He did. But 11 was Reddick, and he missed the first, he had problems in the first 4 weeks because of the hand injury and the cast. And then what they did at the end with the miscoaching and how they mismanaged his ability and how they didn't put him in a proper skill set to be successful. Okay, let's just say he covers Reddick's 10 sacks. you're still not upgrading your pass rush. I mean,
Right.
that guy's got to give you
Right.
more at 18.5, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, I think you need 10 plus sacks just to kind of eat up what Reddick gave you, and we knew what Reddick was going to give you. So yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine or assume that he could go out there and get 15, 16 sacks. It's hard to see that. I'll be happy with 10. I think what you have to get is you have to get production from multiple players. So, you know, you have to get 10 sacks from him, but Nolan Smith needs to show me something. He needs to go out and get 8, 9, 10 sacks himself. He's a first-round pick. I'm not letting him off the hook this year. I'm just not.
So there has to be that's number 10. Nolan Smith, there has to be a Nolan Smith sighting this year, right?
Yeah, yeah, because listen, if you're not getting production from those edge rushers, I think you're gonna have to go out and make a move before the trade deadline. You know, I do think a lot of it is going to be what we get inside from Carter and Jordan Davis, but those guys got to step up. I think it's fair to it's fair to question our edge rushers this year. I do, because I just don't understand the Hassan Reddick thing. He was under contract one more year. You had him. You could have rotated Huff in with him all year, and you could have worked him in that way. And then you could have let Reddick go after getting a full year of Huff on the field. So, you know, it's one of those head scratchers. Of all the things they did right, and I loved a lot of the stuff, that's the one move that makes me go, I just don't get it.
Would you think of doing this at the trading deadline? You know, they didn't put another year on Max Crosby's deal. They gave him more money for the 14.5 sacks. Would you give a first rounder up for Max Crosby and go out and get him? It's because the Raiders got to remember something.
How old is Crosby? How old is he?
That I don't know. Okay. I mean, I can't think is he 30?
If he's 28 or younger, I would consider it. I'd say if he's 30, I'm not giving up a first.
How about the Hendrickson kid from Cincinnati? He's demanded a trade. He's in OTAs.
Yeah, I don't. Cincinnati's always a pain in the butt to deal with. They're always a pain in the butt. I would consider it. I mean, I think you're going to have to do something, you know, on that line if you're not getting production. I mean, best case scenario, what you want is Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are who they are. Or they come out, they play like first-round picks. If you're getting that and that push up the middle, I think it'll set everything else up on the outside. Josh Sweat's got to return to form. And if you have those three things happen, then I think Nolan Smith or Huff have to show up. And if one of them do, I think you're at least where you were a year ago. And if you get both of them, then you know, you're better off. But giant question mark.
Max Crosby's 26.
Yeah, I would do it then. I would consider it.
How about this one here, number 6, linebacking core? You know what? I'm going to relent on this. I don't think they have to be spectacular. I don't even think they have to be great. I just think they have to be solid.
Hey, you sound like me. You sound like what I was saying last time I was on. Yeah.
Just be solid in the middle in there. You can't be the worst linebacking core in the NFC East, which they are right now.
I think Devin White, I know you have your problems with him, but I really believe in my heart that him just being on this team is an improvement from a year ago. Okay. One of the big mistakes they made was letting Edwards go. For what it cost the Bears to sign him, we should have just re-signed him. But I believe he's better than what we had last year. So yeah, I think if they can just be solid, we'll be fine.
How about this? Prince brought this up today about Devin White, and I think it is a point. You know what's funny about him? And I had a high evaluation of him last year, and so did a lot of people. But I think the business end of football got in his way. And what I mean by that is, you know, you got to remember something. In his second year, he was the captain of a Super Bowl defensive football team with Todd Bowles. He was aiming in the right direction where he was going to be a fixture in this league. And all of a sudden, the business of football, I think, Philly.500, I think it got in his way here, and I think what it did was he quit on him, and then to turn around, the Bucks ended up quitting on him, and it was a really awful thing. And
I
that's why
agree.
you're hearing people say now at OTAs, he looks rejuvenated, you know, a little bit.
Yeah.
He looks like he's running around there with a purpose, because his NFL life is on the line here. So, you know,
well,
I have a problem with a guy who's not mentally tough to overcome adversity a little bit.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think if you look at the way his play kind of like fizzled out, it seemed like it was when he wanted his contract extension, didn't get it, asked for a trade. I mean, I literally did videos on it. And I remember sitting there going, you know, when he was in the Super Bowl playing, I was like, man, why can't we got to find a linebacker like that? Like, that's how you looked at him. So I know he's got the talent in there. And it's not like he's 32. He's not Shaq Leonard, right? Where he's older. He's 26. So I'm hoping, and I think the Eagles are betting that, one, he gets a fresh new start somewhere where he's got no problems. He's in a contract year, so he can make as much money as possibly, you know, he can get. I mean, he's just got to go out and play well. He'll get a big contract if he goes out and play. Maybe not with the Eagles, but he'll get big money. So to me, everything is set up for him to succeed. If I don't believe, put it this way, I don't believe that his issues have been physical and that he can't play. I believe they're all upstairs too. And I believe that coming to Philly, getting a fresh new start. I mean, you heard at OTAs, he looked great, breaking up passes, things like that. So, I mean, it's OTAs. You can only put so much into it, but so far, so good. I like him. I like it.
Number 7 here, a couple last ones here. What are your expectations on the cornerback position? Whatever that looks like, because right now, like you said, we don't know with Bradbury. We don't know. It looks like they have some depth now. We'll find out who's going to be. I think this Cooper DeJean has a chance actually to be more impactful than Quinyon Mitchell, because you could put him on the field more and put him in multiple positions. So, I mean, but how do you look at that corner position playing out?
I think that it should be better just on the coaches that we brought in. I think that they'll be better in that way. I think CJ Gardner-Johnson being there also is going to help them a lot. But to me, it's really going to depend on whether you give the young guys a chance. For me, it's all about not just about this year, but it's about getting those guys in and getting them reps, because I want those guys to be playing, you know, in the playoffs. I want them to be going into year 2. You know, people got to remember, DeJean doesn't have that extra year on his contract that Mitchell has. So the sooner you can get him on the field, the better. You don't want him to wait till his second year, and then he's learning, then he's in his third year, and you got to judge everything on 1 year to give him extension. I want him on the field. I want both those guys on the field. So to me, how I judge the secondary is really going to be like, are those young guys playing and contributing? I don't need to see more Bradbury. I don't even need to see more Slay. Not that I like him, but I want those young guys to play. That, to me, is my main thing.
I said this about Carter and Davis. I want to see Jalen Carter in the prime of Fletcher Cox, and I want to see Jordan Davis be a Hollis Thomas. Can you imagine if those two guys played together like Fletcher Cox and Hollis Thomas, what your interior would be? If those two dudes end up putting you and giving you that kind of performance, I think that has to be essential for them to get to the Super Bowl.
I think it's the essential part of that defense. Like, if those guys are not playing well, I think everything we talked about, the linebackers, the secondaries, even the edge rushers, I think it's all going to be a problem. Those guys have to show up and be ready to play, both of them. They have to. And I think Jalen Carter, I talked about this in a video earlier, I think he's going to have a monster year. I think Jalen Carter is going to be really, really good this year.
Finally, Nick's got to get out of the way. Just stay out of the way, dude. I mean, and you know what? That sounds easier than said, because, you know, you get out to a 1-3, man. Say, hypothetically, you get out to a 1-3, even a 2-2. They're going to be screaming for your head in Philly if he gets out to a 2-2. He's going to want to get involved because, hey, Everyone wants to save their job when the boat's going down. You know, I mean,
Right.
you're going to
Right.
look for a lifeboat, dude. You're going to do whatever. Hey, when you're on the Titanic and the Titanic's going down, you're throwing people out of the lifeboat and getting in one. I mean, is he going to get out of the way?
I don't. I look like, you know, it's like my father used to say growing up. At the dinner table, kids should be seen and not heard. You know what I mean? And that's what we need from Nick Sirianni. Let him be seen but not heard. You know, just stay away from game planning. Stay away from all of it, and smile for the cameras. That's about it. That's all I need from him.
You ready?
Yeah.
Kenny Flickett. Kenny Flickett. Right there, baby.
Flick it for the picket. Nah.
There's Kenny Flickett outperforming and outplaying Jalen. Look at that.
Jesus.
Hey, man, look at that. By the way, let me have one last question here for you. Why do all of you Eagle fans and everybody in Philly have amnesia? And why are you giving people the benefit of the doubt on the nuclear meltdown, and that all of a sudden this guy's going to turn it around? Did you forget what happened?
Are we talking about Nick Sirianni? I'm
talking about all of them. Why do you give them the benefit?
I have no choice. I have no choice. I would have fired. I said I would have moved on from Nick Sirianni. I didn't think there was any recovering from that. I guess, you know what it is? It was just so insane, so historical, and so crazy. You don't think it possibly could happen again. I think that's what it was. It was just like, it seems like it was one of those freak things.
I've never seen anything like it.
I haven't either. And I would have fired the coach because of it, because I just don't know how you recover. And if you look at the way, in my opinion, if you look at Nick Sirianni this offseason, I don't think he looks comfortable. You know, just the body language to him at the press conference. I just, you know,
you mean slapping Howie's ass too? Like, you know, like
but it's like, you know, it's like, hey, good job. I was over here in the corner taking a nap. Now we're on the clock, you know. But if you looked at the combine, he looked uncomfortable. You know, some of the I mean, that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. I hate that the meltdown happened. I hate the collapse happened. But I mean, we did pretty much clean house with every other coach. And to me, that was the main issue.
You still kept the skunk in the building that was dead, though.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, I think
it's still there.
Here's why they did it. The only reason I think they kept Nick Sirianni was because they didn't want to look bad, right? You just fired Doug Peterson a few years ago after winning a Super Bowl, going to 3 straight. Now you're going to fire a guy that took you to Super Bowl the year before. It makes them look bad. So they didn't want to fire him. I mean, we did hear reports that they talked to Belichick, so I don't know what it means. You know, I don't know. I don't know how you recover from a collapse like that. But you know, they chose to keep him, and now we'll see what he has and how much control. I don't think there's any coincidence they brought in Fangio and Kellen Moore, 2 guys with experience. Look at all the coaches that they hired. Defensive line coach, right, was a defensive coordinator. Everybody's coming in with experience. So I think that was really the big problem. Was I don't think that the coaches knew how to stop the bleeding when they started to lose.
Kenny Flickett, get a shirt. It's Flickett season.
I don't know. I don't know what to think. I think Howie must be Howie is. He's calculating the calculations of the cornbread, and he is going to get a 2nd-round pick for Kenny Pickett. They're building him up.
Mark Holmes ran from you. Well, you beat him up.
Yeah, what's up with that, man? I haven't heard from him.
You beat him up so bad he ran.
I double moonwalked that ass. I haven't heard from him in like a week. I really think that we need to get like a EMT group, like, to be with him during live streams this year, because I don't think this guy is going to make it. I don't think he's going to make it through the year.
I'm about ready to go to like the Virginia area and get on a milk carton. Have you seen Mark Holmes? I mean,
he's missing.
Yeah, I mean, or you know, a big old ass, or like an Amber Alert or something, and put him on a billboard.
What happened? He told you he couldn't come on no more. What did he do?
I know. I mean, we had him earmarked for 3:30 every Wednesday, and after you kicked the shit out of him, all of a sudden now this guy's like in witness protection.
Yeah, he's hiding out. He's hiding out. That's, you know, he's delusional. He did like 9 videos yesterday, and every other one's about Dak Prescott and why it's not Dak's fault, why it's everybody else's fault. And then he goes off on a tangent about other quarterbacks in the league. He goes off about Lamar Jackson not winning in the playoffs. Like, dude, Dak Prescott doesn't win the playoffs. What are you talking about Lamar Jackson for? He's an MVP player.
And Dak loses to Jordan Love. Lamar loses to Patrick Mahomes. There's a difference, dude. I mean,
yeah,
you're losing to Joe Burrow. You're losing to Josh Allen. You're losing to players like that. Those guys are all good. When you lose to Jared Goff and you're losing to like Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield, there's a problem with you, Dak. Dude, you know what? I will never in a million years defend that guy. I think he's a great dude. He seems like a great guy. But when it comes to winning in the postseason, he ain't it.
Can't do it. Yeah,
are you giving him $60 million?
No, God, no. No, he can't win. He can't win the big games. I don't think Dallas wants it. Like, I'm convinced that they had to, the way they've handled the offseason, where they haven't even tried to fix his contract. Like, you can't tell me the writing's not on the wall that they want to cut ties with the guy anyways. So to me, I wouldn't pay him. No, he can't win the playoffs, Sills. He can't win when it matters. At some point, it doesn't matter how good you are in the regular season. When you get 8-9 years in, it doesn't matter about the regular season. You have to win in the playoffs. He doesn't do that.
That's where your legacy is built, is in the postseason. All right, homie, tell people how they can find you.
Just type in Philly.500 or the guy that needs a diet, and it'll come right up.
that might be both of us. Homie, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, man.
You always finding time for me. And if you see that guy, No Holmes, I mean, let me know, man. You know what? I mean, does he need an apology? Does he? I mean, I don't know what happened to the guy. He just like these guys beat this. You and hey, Twiz, I want to say this to you, Twiz. Kiss my ass. That's your guy. Your guy ended up being a cowardly lion. Come on, man. Twiz, that's your boy. Get him on. He's gonna be great.
I don't know where he is.
Now he runs and hides. Philly.500 kicked the shit out of him, and he's gone for good. He's like in a mental rehab. Hey, I can't take Philly.500. He kicked the shit out of me for 2 weeks in a row. 500, I love you, man. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Love you, man. Bye.
You got it. Philly.500, man. Absolutely fantastic. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Keep it here. National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.